This is dedicated to the revolution of the people, for the people, for the earth, respecting all. Away from all the negative and hateful and angry and irreligious actions perpetrated by Trump and his people. God knows you're a wild rose, you're a warm light with an old soul. We were not created to be sacrificed and subjugated, hated, threatened, and intimidated. No, you got an innocent heart. What don't you understand? Illumination and transformation is from the high command. It's from the high command. What don't you understand? God knows you're a wild rose, you're a warm light with an old soul. You've got the innocent heart, yeah, you can understand. Illumination into transformation. This is the master plan. This is the master plan. You can understand. This is the master plan. You can understand. It's from the high command. You can understand. You can understand. Because God knows you're a wild rose, you're a warm light with an old soul. You're a wild rose. You're a wild rose. You're a wild rose. It's from the high command. It's from the high command. That's the master plan. That you're a wild rose. You're a wild rose. Yes, you are. A beautiful wild rose. Even when it's -1. It's -1. And I'm a little cold sitting by this window, but I want you to see how beautiful it is outside. Can you see it? Or is it too bright? I hope it's not too bright. Might be. That's kind of nice. The look of that tree is kind of nice. I hope it's not too bright. That's the snow. And that's why I'm not facing in front of the snow, because you can't see me. It's so bright. Not that I'm the best thing to look at. Let me fix my hair. So this is Deutschland. I guess that means Germany. At first I thought that meant Dutch. But Germany. All hail to Germany. They're doing a pretty good job. But let me read you something. None of us are doing a real good job. And that's a problem. That's why we need a revolution to help life on Earth and all of Earth. this was I read this today. Jobs may disappear because of AI. Artificial intelligence may do a lot of things that people now are doing. And I'm going to guess these are better paying jobs. And that's another issue that you can pay these people 25,000 a year and these people 125,000 a year, and it's like you're creating a bad society. You're not creating a community. You're creating dysfunctional and disparate and disconnected world with your inequality, our greatest sin. And what else does it say? It's likely to worsen overall inequality. Yeah, our greatest sin. Inequality, and we don't really care. These people have so much money, these people have nothing. We don't really care. That's not something that we vote on. Republicans keep cutting the taxes on the rich, even though it's getting worse and worse. And the working people that are voting for that deserve the blame, just like the people that manipulate them in the media, especially right-wing media, because that's their message. And their message is never to talk about the inequality and the concentration of wealth and the problems inherent in that. It's to talk about these things out in some social issues, whether it's abortion or guns or transgender people or immigration. They're not going to talk about money and inequality because that's the last thing they want us to talk about. And we can't be so damn stupid. Here we go. Here we go. You don't want to hear this. You don't want to hear this. I don't want to say this. Wealth of the world's 5 richest men more than doubled since 2020. So right now it's 2024. Early 2024. The wealth of the world's 5 richest men up 114% since 2020 to 869 billion. 5 people. 5 people. It said the way it's going, we may have the world's first trillionaire. Just something to make you throw up. Something that's I'll just say sinful, inhumane, some of the word malevolent, some of the worst words you can think of. That's what we're doing. We are doing that, and it's worldwide. You could look at the problem in America or the Western Hemisphere or the Eastern Hemisphere, from Europe to the Middle East, Russia, Africa, South America. We're all doing horribly about trying to help each other and create a community of souls. We're creating a community of kings and slaves. Since 2020. So the rich have become so much richer. And here's another thing. You don't want to hear this either. This is just as bad, maybe worse. I guess worse, maybe worse. 5 billion people have become poorer. 5 billion people have become poor. Inflation, war, global warming, or climate change, that's what they listed. War, inflation, climate change. Now, they didn't say anything about governmental policies because that's bigger than anything else. Your tax policy, your monetary policy, who do you reward? These countries are being built and have been built over time by millions of people helping to create the country and build the roads and teach the children and dig the coal and create society. Millions and millions. But our economic system is so wicked, so corrupt, so ignorant. We are ignorant. Maybe more than corrupt. We're just damn ignorant to create this kind of concentration of wealth. We say we're a democracy, but we create an aristocracy, an oligarchy, a plutocracy, plantation, the kings and slaves. We're the slaves to these kings. You don't think you're a slave to a billionaire or one of these guys that has $100 billion? Not just, if I said, how about if I give you $1 million? You'll go, wow, $1 million. Or if I'll say, I'll give you $10 million. Wow, 10 million, I'm rich. Oh, these guys are so much more richer than that. Not 10 million, not 100 million, not 800 million, billions and billions. It's ruining, it's ruinous. It's ruining us. It's ruinous to society, to civilization, to humanity. It's the worst thing we're doing, right next to destroying the earth. And they're hand in hand. They're like the devil's twins. They're hand in hand, leading us down the path to destruction, moral destruction, physical destruction, spiritual destruction, societal destruction. So, yeah, I don't know how many times I can say it. I'll just say it like that. We're destroying each other, destroying this graceful planet, destroying this graceful human population we have of 8 billion, all for the pursuit of money and using the excuse of being ignorant or uninterested, apathetic. But you're voting for this in many countries. You're voting to create catastrophe, both in the climate and in our hearts and in our cities and societies. So yeah, revolution is the right word. There's not another word that fits. A revolution of the heart, a revolution of government, a revolution of monetary and tax policies and housing policy. Yeah. So if AI does a lot of these jobs and robotics and technology, I mean, I live in a place where there's a lot of chicken factories and meat processing. And those aren't very good jobs. They may pay well, but they're hard and they're dirty and what's it called? Carpal tunnel syndrome. People's hands kind of get, after years, they have trouble with their hands and probably their back, repetitive motion disorder. So it's good that we're going to have robots or technology, automation doing that. But these good-hearted Americans or good-hearted human beings, they need to wake up and go to work. Maybe not for 8 hours. I think 8 hours is too far, or too much. Maybe for 5 hours, 6 hours, and then come home and be with their family or their friends or their community or volunteer somewhere. But everybody needs a job, and I don't think we're so self-centered. What about me? I want this. That we can't, or we don't take the time to think about, okay, I live in a community. What does the community need? I live on a planet. What does the planet need? Yeah, a revolution of understanding, a revolution of our intellect. And yeah, I'm in Arkansas, but we know how to read. We know how to understand things. I'm tired of people acting stupid and voting for evil men or men that do evil things and that love money. Anyway, let's move on, my friends. And you are my friends. Reading. Okay, there's a really, I forget why I watched this. Anyway, I watched a movie. It was free with ads. That's why I watch it. Genius. It's called Genius. It's about the writer Thomas Wolfe. And Thomas Wolfe, who seems like a country boy, I forget from where, but very intelligent. and he wrote this really long book, and he takes it to a publisher in New York, and the guy works with him. The guy accepts it because he sees some awesome talent in it, and he works with him. But he cuts down the book from like 800 pages to 400, and it's called "Look Homeward, Angel," a famous book. Look Homeward, Angel, and I looked at that, but I didn't want that. I wanted Thomas Wolfe. I wanted his real thing, and it's called "Oh Lost," a story of the buried life. But this is the way he starts it out. And this guy's a. Now, what did my friend say? Who can be pretty judgmental? He said, as I agree with my father that, he's too wordy or something. He uses too many words but, and that's true sometimes. I mean, nobody's perfect. Joyce isn't perfect. But this guy, okay, here it is. Oh Lost, Part 1. This is how it starts. Prologue. Anabasis. I don't know what that means. Anabasis. But this is really how it starts. ... A stone, a leaf, an unfound door, colon. Of a stone, a leaf, a door, and of all the forgotten faces. Next paragraph. Naked and alone, we came into exile. In her dark womb, we did not know our mother's face, colon. In the prison of her flesh have we come into the unspeakable and incommunicable prison of this earth. Which of us has known his brother? Which of us has looked into his father's heart? Which of us has not remained forever prison pent? Which of us is not forever a stranger and alone? I could go on. I could go on. I just think it's magic. I think this guy is magic. And yeah, I don't know how many pages it is, 700 or, well, not quite 700, 650 maybe. But, and he had a troubled life, like many writers do. But I liked the movie, and I liked that book even more just for the excitement in it. I see that in Joyce. I see that in Thomas Wolfe. I see that in Jack Kerouac. Life should be exciting. We're only here for a little while, and there's so much going on inside of us and outside of us that it should be an exciting, joyous, interesting, painful, celebratory, illuminating ride. And that's a problem that we've created bad systems and support bad systems. Reading The Great Gatsby. It's not my favorite. Sometimes you don't like the subject matter, what the story is, but the writing. Chapter 1. In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. When you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had. He didn't say any more, but we've always been unusually communicative in a reserved way, and I understood that he meant a great deal more than that. In consequence, I'm inclined to reserve all judgments, a habit that has opened up many curious natures to me and also made me the victim of not a few veteran bores. The abnormal mind is quick to detect and attach itself to this quality. I don't know. I just think it's it kind of hooks you. That's a trick in a book to hook you. Instead of starting out, a lot of them were just boring where they say, it was early October. It was an early October morning in the town of, I don't know, it's almost more like a listing. I told a friend Hemingway wasn't one of my favorites. I haven't read that much, but he said, I was saying a lot of it's about war. It seems to be about war or just manly stuff. And he said, you should read A Movable Feast, which is when, I think this is actually not a novel. I think this is, what do you call it? kind of a biography. But when he's in Paris, when he's living in Paris, I think he's just writing about his friendships and his life and his wife. This is the way how this begins. Then there was the bad weather, period. That's how it begins. Then there was the bad weather. Then there was the bad weather. Interesting beginning. It would come in one day and when the fall was over, period. We would have to shut the windows in the night against the rain, and the cold wind would strip the leaves from the trees, and the place contrascarp. Period. The leaves lay sodden in the rain, and the wind drove the rain against the big green autobus at the terminal, and the Café des Amateurs was crowded, and the windows misted over from the heat and the smoke inside. That's nice. That's really nice. I think he's just talking about his life in Paris. But so well done. And I'm not that kind of writer, but if we need to be around quality. We all have certain qualities and gifts and talents, and I think we need to make sure that we're around other people's talents and gifts, and learn from that. Not the wickedness, not the greed and hate, and that's just pulling you down and apart from your soul, man. You've got to get away from that into the light, into the goodness of humanity and this life on earth. There's so much goodness, and we have to perpetrate that. We have to support that, and not the opposite, including concentration of wealth and power and income and property. That's a sin. That is a detriment to humanity, life on earth. That's the opposite of what goodness is. That's wickedness, and that's what we've supported for years, not just in America, all over the world. People don't fight for the right. Great book. So I've read a number of books on the Constitution. I am interested in the Constitutional Convention. It's a good story, interesting story, and who was there and who wasn't, and let's see, Adams wasn't there, Jefferson wasn't there. We talked about the Declaration of Independence and the Revolution, but the Constitutional Convention was such a seminal and important activity to American history and America today. But this one, Catherine Drinker Bowen. Yeah, this is the one I recommend. I like the way she writes, and it's not boring. It will tell you what was happening and give you insights into some of the people's characteristics and personalities. And you can say that's not historical. That's more historical fiction. I don't know what you want to call it, but for my money, this is the best. And this should be probably read in, at least part of it, should be read in schools. When I taught U.S. government, we should have read part of that, but I hadn't read as much, Since I've retired, I've read a lot more about the Constitution and the Revolution and colonialism, and before, when the British and the French and the Spanish and the Dutch and the Native Americans were all fighting and involved with each other before there was any America. So if you want to know about the history of this place, I think you have to go there. You have to read about the people, the leaders, but not just the leaders, some of the pamphleteers, a lot of pamphlets going out and people writing about what they believed in and this idea of republicanism and not just rights for the people against the king to protect themselves against the king or the parliament, but more this idea of we are the parliament. We control government. Government is an outgrowth of us. You are hired by us, and we have no king. We have representatives, which was a revolution. We've had a revolution. We can have another one. And this next one needs to be about humanity and equality and taking care of everybody and not loving money. They were still aristocratically centered and thinking we're better than these people, even though we're a democracy in America, and we have to get rid of that. That nobody's better than anyone else, and nobody deserves a good life and leave somebody else in the streets or struggling, including services for mental illness or drug addiction. I have a number of friends that have adult children with severe mental illness, and they're like, I can't afford to pay $30,000 for a month treatment or 50,000. It's an extreme amount of money. I can't afford to pay for them to get the treatment they need, and that's part of the problems that some of the severely mentally ill. I mean, who do you think does all these mass shootings? America is the king of mass shootings. We have way too many guns. The Republicans won't even restrict assault weapons. My God. So we have some of the most terrible mass murders in world history outside of a war. We're having a war inside this country. And part of it is people aren't appreciated enough, or they're bullied, or they don't have therapy or counseling or help. Just help. You need money to to get any kind of services, and the best service is the most money. And so we create some of this tragedy and criminality, and by not helping people and pushing them to the edge. I mean, how many people attacked the Capitol on January the 6th? Trump telling them to attack the Capitol, so they beat up 140 policemen and women, spray them with all sorts of toxic materials, and beat on them, and rip their mask off and say, shoot him with his own gun, and go to the bathroom, defecate in the Congress, go into the room and tear up some papers, and go into Nancy Pelosi's room and put your boot up on her desk, and just madness. Criminality, domestic terrorists. You don't think that's the domestic terrorist that beats up 140 policemen and women and breaks windows and breaks into the United States Congress? You don't think that's a domestic terrorist? What are they calling them? Hostages. The Republicans are calling them hostages after the desecration and violent attack that they did to try to keep Trump in the presidency, although he had lost by 3 million votes. I mean, our electoral college is anti-democratic, just like the Senate, where somebody in Montana has as much power as 200 people in California because they both get 2 senators, and the electoral college is tilted like that. If we were a more democratically committed country, we'd get rid of the electoral college, but we'd also change the Senate to be, proportional to the population, just like the House of Representatives. But then for the presidential election, it would be a popular vote. It wouldn't have any electoral colleges. Madness, and undemocratic. So, yeah, so much to do. We have so much to do. But, we're doing some things are happening that are positive, and we have to support that and increase that. I like this group. It's called Rails to Trails. most of the time they take old railroad trails or railroad lines that are no longer in use and turn them into biking, hiking trails, and pretty wonderful. We have some fantastic trails through my city of Fayetteville, Arkansas, and part of the reason we had a progressive mayor and council and money from corporations and maybe even more so, we have a lot of creeks. We don't have a lot of water. I miss that when I lived in Seattle. I love the water. But we have creeks, so that's low level, and around the creeks it's a floodplain. So you're not going to build. You can't build next to these creeks, and it might be called the White River, but it's more of a creek than a river. Um, and so there's a lot of area around the creeks that people don't live on because it's the floodplain. That's where most of the trails are. Even though this is a hilly area, most of the trails are basically flat because they follow the creeks. And you can go, especially north south, you can go from the city to the south of us way up to Bella Vista, like 50 miles, almost 50 miles. A little of that is on the street. It's protected, but I don't like it when you're next to cars. But a lot of that is just its own entity. You're not next to cars, and it's beautiful because it's built by the creek and the trees, and it's just a wonderful thing. And so good things happen too, but the problem is we've been very lazy politically about trying to create a good society and rather ignorant or just reluctant to try to look at the big picture and get caught in our own little I'm pro life and I vote. Well, what does that mean? There's one issue. There's thousands of issues. You can't just grab onto one, or you can. It makes it easy for you, but it makes it hard for the rest of us. Life is complex, and democracy is very demanding. Democracy is demanding. Without good citizens that are intelligent and informed, democracy is a piece of shit because we're dependent on that. That's what democracy is built upon, the shoulders of common people like you and